Myles Garrett didn't just speak, he detonated. One of the most respected voices in the Browns organization, the all-pro face of the franchise, quarterback hunting machine, just walked up to the mic and said exactly what the rest of the building's been tiptoeing around. Shedeur's our QB1. Not, we'll see. Not, I trust the coaching staff. Not, he's doing a good job. No, Garrett didn't play politics. He went full declaration mode. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. And just like that, the quarterback controversy in Cleveland got real. And if you think that was just a nice compliment from a team leader, think again. That moment, that was a line in the sand, a public power shift, a cultural earthquake. Because here's the thing. For the first time in what feels like forever, the Cleveland Browns might finally have a quarterback that the locker room believes in. And the timing? Oh, it's not a coincidence. Because behind the scenes, the franchise is on fire. We're talking open fights between ownership and coaching staff, lawyers getting involved, game decisions being debated in real time by people in suits instead of headsets. It's chaos. Like, full-blown franchise on the verge of a nervous breakdown chaos. And right in the middle of it, calm, measured, fully locked in, is Shedeur Sanders. The rookie, the outsider, the unproven newcomer, the only one not losing his cool. If this were a movie, Shedeur would be the guy walking through a building as it explodes behind him. Slow motion, sunglasses on, not even blinking. Because while the rest of the franchise is combusting, this man is steady, strategic, cool to the touch. And Myles Garrett just threw the weight of the entire locker room behind him. Let's not understate how massive that is. Myles doesn't talk just to talk. He's not some loudmouth doing hot takes for headlines. He's earned every bit of respect in that building. And when he speaks, guys listen. So when he calls Shedeur QB1, publicly, that's not a suggestion. That's a statement. That's a coup. And honestly, can you blame him? Because if anyone has the right to demand better, it's Myles. He's been through the quarterback blender that is Cleveland. Overhyped first-rounders, journeyman flameouts, one-season miracles that turn into cautionary tales. You know the list. It reads like a post-apocalyptic NFL draft board. And every year it's the same thing. Hype, collapse, reset. But Shedeur, he's different. Not just because he can throw, not just because he's mobile, but because he doesn't carry that desperation, that need to prove something. He already knows who he is. He walks into a room like he belongs in it. And for a team as historically insecure as the Browns, that's magnetic. So, how did we get here? Well, rewind the tape. Week 1 was an emotional car crash, a missed opportunity, a meltdown on national TV, and a post-game locker room that felt like a pressure cooker with the lid blown off. You had the kicker in tears. Coaches arguing about play calls. Ownership getting way too involved. And through it all, Shedeur was the only guy holding it together. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't sulking. He was lifting, leading, quietly stabilizing the locker room like he'd done it 1,000 times before. Then came the whispers, the rumors, that ownership wanted him in sooner, that Stefanski wasn't on board, that Jimmy Haslam, never one to be subtle, had words with his head coach behind closed doors, words that echoed, loud enough to rattle the walls of the entire facility. According to sources inside the building, that wasn't just a conversation. It was a confrontation, one that left the coaching staff divided and the front office scrambling for spin. And now, Myles Garrett walks into that mess and drops his bombshell in front of reporters right before a divisional game against the Baltimore Ravens. This isn't just a QB announcement. This is a declaration of war against dysfunction. Because for the first time, someone inside the building is saying enough. Enough of the indecision. Enough of the politics. Enough of the half measures. The Browns need a leader, and they have one. But it doesn't stop there. Because as Shedeur steps into the spotlight around him is burning white hot. The media, they're circling like vultures. And yet, he's unshaken. During interviews, he's calm, articulate, Measured. No snark. No cryptic posts. Just straight answers and straight eye contact. It's unnerving how polished he is. Not polished like media trained. Polished like born for this. And people are noticing. He was asked, point blank, if he felt ready to lead this team. His answer? Leadership isn't about readiness. It's about responsibility. And I take that seriously. That's not a rookie answer. That's a franchise answer. And yet, all this is happening against a backdrop of complete internal disarray. Sources close to the team say Jimmy Haslam has taken a personal interest in Sanders' development, and not in a supportive mentor way, more like a hovering parent at a science fair way. He's intervening in decisions, reportedly pushing Stefanski to make the switch faster than he wanted to. Word is Stefanski resisted. That led to an explosive meeting, raised voices, legal reps on standby, even whispers of breach of contract discussions. Let that sink in. The owner is threatening to override his own coach over a QB decision. It's not just messy. It's dangerous. And here's the twist. Amid all that internal warfare, Shedeur Sanders has become the stabilizing force, the eye of the storm. How often can you say that about a rookie? And that's what Myles Garrett was really doing when he named him QB1. He wasn't just talking about football. He was putting his foot down on culture, on stability, on unity. He was saying, this team doesn't need more chaos. We need this guy, the one person in this building who's not letting the dysfunction infect him. And sure, Shedeur's only played one real game. But this decision, this moment, isn't about stats. It's about tone, about choosing a direction and finally sticking to it. And let's talk about that direction for a second. Because make no mistake, this is a franchise-altering moment. If the Browns lean into Shedeur Sanders as the future, not just for the week, but for the era, they have a shot at rewriting their entire identity. He's got the tools, the mechanics, the vision, but more importantly, he has the mentality, the ability to drown out the noise and execute under pressure. The only thing that can derail this, the people around him. If the coaching staff can't get on board, if the front office keeps meddling, if the locker room fractures under the weight of divided loyalties, then this becomes just another chapter in the cursed saga of Cleveland quarterbacks. Another what could have been. Another bright spark smothered by dysfunction. But if they can rally around him, stabilize the chaos, and let this kid lead, then Myles Garrett won't just have named the starting quarterback. He'll have ignited a revolution. It all comes down to Sunday. Week 2, Ravens versus Browns. A division rivalry. A must-win game. A rookie QB stepping into the fire. This is it. The moment where we find out if Shedeur Sanders is just a good story or the story. So grab your popcorn. This isn't just football anymore. It's a battle for soul of a franchise. Comment below. Do you think Myles Garrett made the right call? Is Shedeur ready to carry this team? Or is this another premature crowning in Cleveland's endless QB carousel? And if you're as addicted to the drama as we are, go ahead and subscribe. Because if this season keeps unraveling at this pace, you're not going to want to miss a second of it. Welcome to the era of Sanders. Or at least the opening act. The moment Myles Garrett said the words, Shedeur is QB1, it wasn't just about football, it was about taking control of the narrative. And the Browns? They've never controlled their own narrative. They've been the punchline for 2 decades. The team with a new starting quarterback every Halloween. The place where careers go to die, no matter how shiny the draft day highlight reel looked. The front office gets cleaned out, the jerseys change, the slogans rebrand, but the results? The heartbreak? That part has stayed the same. Until now, because when one of the most respected players in the NFL publicly overrides the coaching staff and declares a rookie the leader of the team, that's not just a personnel decision. That's a power shift. That's a mutiny. A respectful, quiet, locker room back mutiny. And nobody saw it coming this fast. Well, except maybe Shedeur. The most fascinating part of this whole saga isn't the talent. We know the kid can ball. He's got arm strength, pocket poise, field vision, check, check, check. No one's arguing the physical tools. But it's the psychological part that's got Cleveland buzzing. The way he carries himself like someone who's already had to fight for credibility, even when it was never freely given. The calmness with which he fields questions, handles criticism, and operates under pressure, that doesn't come from training camp. That comes from life. That comes from watching your name be dismissed and dissected long before you ever threw an NFL pass. And what does he do with that noise? He doesn't fight it. He outgrows it. That's what Myles Garrett sees. That's what the locker room sees. And that's what the coaching staff, if they want to keep their jobs, better start seeing, too. Because, like it or not, the torch has already been passed. Stefanski can play coy. The front office can issue carefully worded statements. But the truth is, the team has already moved on. The players have picked their leader. And honestly, could the timing be any more poetic? Week 2, Ravens, Baltimore. The same team that's bullied the Browns since their reincarnation. The same team that used to be the Browns before the city's heart got ripped out in the dead of night and shipped off to Maryland. This isn't just a division game. It's a ghost story. And now, into that haunted rivalry walks Shedeur Sanders. Rookie, underdog, calm as hell. You can practically hear the NFL film's music swelling in the background. But let's not get too swept up in the movie moment. There's real pressure here. Because while Garrett's endorsement was powerful, it was also risky. This isn't a quiet locker room conversation. It's a public vote of confidence that could split the building in two if things go sideways. Stefanski's authority, already being questioned. Haslam's reputation, already hanging by a thread. And if Shedeur struggles early, the Sharks will smell blood. That's the thing about anointing a new leader, especially one who's not the expected choice. The leash is short, the spotlight is harsh, and the critics are ready. But if we're being honest, Shedeur's been living in that pressure cooker for years. Think about it. Growing up as the son of Deion Sanders, that's not just a name. It's a shadow, a colossal legacy looming over every throw you make, every decision, every interview, every eye roll from a doubting analyst who assumes you're only here because of your last name. But here's the plot twist. Shedeur never used that legacy as a crutch. He used it as a standard. That's why, when chaos erupted after week 1 and ownership started barking and the coaching staff started stuttering, Shedeur didn't flinch. He didn't add fuel to the fire. He didn't make it about him. He just did his job. Showed up, lifted teammates, controlled the huddle, said the right things, did the hard things. That's not rookie behavior. That's quarterback behavior. And the players noticed. Look, NFL locker rooms are ruthless when it comes to sniffing out phonies. You can't talk your way into being respected. You can't fake presence. And no one cares what you did in college once the pads go on and the pressure hits. But Shedeur, he passed the vibe check and the leadership test. And in a city where quarterbacks are usually treated like disposable contact lenses, that matters. Still, let's not ignore the storm clouds forming overhead, because behind all the feel-good narratives in Garrett's mic drop moment, there's a fracture that could derail everything. The Stefanski-Haslam situation, it's not some minor disagreement. It's volcanic. The owner wants Shedeur. The coach wanted to ease him in. And now, with Garrett going full public with his endorsement, Stefanski is officially outnumbered and possibly out of time. There are whispers that Stefanski's job is already hanging by a thread, that if week 2 doesn't go well, if the offense sputters or the locker room looks divided, it could be his last week calling plays. Because in Cleveland, stability is a luxury no one has the patience for. And the moment the fans feel like the coach is the problem, the pitchforks come out fast. Especially when the alternative is someone like Shedeur, who represents everything the city wants to believe in. Hope, stability, a future, not just another quick-fix savior, but a builder, a leader, a guy who wants the weight of the franchise and isn't afraid of the legacy or the pressure. Because let's be honest, if Shedeur Sanders can actually lead the Browns out of quarterback hell, if he becomes a steady hand, a consistent leader, the culture setter Cleveland's been thirsting for, they won't just build a statue. They'll rename half the city. But that's a big if. The truth is, this is the moment where the spotlight gets hottest, where all the calm answers and media-savvy interviews fade away, And the game itself has to do the talking, because it's one thing to look like a leader. It's another to lead your team into M&T Bank Stadium, stare down the Ravens defense, and come out with a win. If Shedeur can do that, it's not just the beginning of a new era. It's the end of Cleveland's curse. But if he falters, if the chaos consumes him, if the politics behind the scenes tear this team apart before he has a chance to stabilize it, then this becomes just another heartbreak in a city full of them. Another jersey to hang in the cursed locker of shattered expectations. So what happens next? Well, we wait, we watch, and we hope. The most dangerous word in Cleveland, but also the most necessary. Because maybe, just maybe, this time it's real. Maybe Shedeur is the one. Maybe Garrett's words weren't just a vote. They were a prophecy. And maybe, just maybe, the Browns are finally ready to let go of their past and build a future that doesn't fall apart by Halloween. It's like Cleveland's been trapped in this never-ending quarterback reincarnation cycle, each new savior arriving with fireworks and fanfare, only to fizzle out in a storm of excuses and blown coverages. But here we are again, staring down another week two like it's a season finale, and there's that same old question, whispering behind every headline, every press conference, every screaming sports show talking head. Could this be the one? But let's be honest, it feels different this time. Not just because Shedeur Sanders is walking into the QB1 role with the composure of a 10-year vet. Not just because he didn't get handed this moment. He earned it in the middle of a firestorm. But because the team itself from the inside seems to be shifting. And that doesn't happen in Cleveland. Not organically. Not this quickly. Not without a crisis. And that crisis? It's sitting squarely in Kevin Stefanski's lap right now, steaming and hissing like a live grenade. Because while the front office does damage control and Jimmy Haslam paces the executive suite like a restless CEO at a failing startup, Stefanski's got the most unenviable job in the NFL this week. Pretend like everything's normal when everyone knows it's not. You can see it in the interviews. That tight smile. The classic, we're evaluating all positions line. The we believe in all our players speech. But the locker room isn't buying it. The fans aren't buying it. And judging by his latest media hit, Myles Garrett sure as hell isn't buying it. That's the wild part. Myles didn't just endorse Shedeur. He undercut the entire charade. He pulled the curtain back on the dance everyone's been doing since week one. And in doing so, he made it impossible for Stefanski to stall any longer. Because now, if Shedeur doesn't start against Baltimore, it's not just a coaching decision. It's a statement, a fracture, a direct contradiction of the locker room's chosen direction. And that could turn a team on the verge of unity into a team walking into battle with side eyes and cold shoulders. Let's be real. NFL teams are not democracies. Coaches coach. Owners own. Players play. But the moment you lose a locker room, it doesn't matter who's calling the plays. And Shedeur, he's already got that room. We're not saying he's Patrick Mahomes. Not yet. Let's not crown him king of Ohio just because he said the right things and threw a couple of tight spirals. But what he is, undeniably, is a natural center of gravity. And in Cleveland, a franchise that's been spinning like a carousel in a tornado for decades, that kind of grounding presence isn't just welcome. It's rare. Holy. Practically mythological. Let's talk about why he has it. It's not just a name. Yes, being Deion Sanders' son comes with its own gravitational pull. But you can't ride a name forever. Not in this league. Not when 300-pound linemen are trying to flatten you every Sunday. No. What makes Shedeur special is that he doesn't perform leadership. He just is it. No chest thumping. No dramatic speeches. He doesn't walk around like he's trying to be the man. He walks around like someone who already knows the job is his and isn't worried about convincing anyone else. And that's why his teammates are rallying. Because in a storm of indecision, you gravitate toward the person who doesn't flinch. Meanwhile, Haslam's over here trying to play chess, except he thinks the queen moves like a knight and the board is on fire. He's been so eager to crown the next golden boy. He's forgotten what leadership actually looks like. You can't manufacture leadership with a press release. You can't force locker room respect through ownership decree. You can't make culture in a boardroom, but you can feel it when it starts to happen. And the Browns? For the first time in years, they're showing signs of a real cultural shift, from top-down panic to bottom-up belief. Which brings us to Sunday. Browns, Ravens, Week 2, home turf. You already know this game is bigger than the standings, bigger than one win or loss. This is a litmus test of trust, of trajectory, of whether this franchise is finally ready to believe in something longer than one news cycle. Because if Shedeur walks out of that tunnel as QB1, the crowd's going to roar. Not just because they want to win, but because they want clarity. They're tired of the ambiguity, the guessing games, the recycled cliches, that he gives us the best chance to win nonsense. They want a leader, a plan, a direction that doesn't change based on what the local columnist screamed on Twitter last night. And if Shedeur delivers, if he holds his own, commands a huddle, makes smart reads, keeps the poise he's already displayed, then buckle up, because the city is going to catch fire. Not the fake hype kind, the real kind, the kind that's been simmering under the surface for years, waiting for someone to believe in without holding their breath. But here's the flip side. If Stefanski plays it safe, or worse, tries to split reps or hedge bets, and the team loses, it's over. Not just the Stefanski era, not just the locker room harmony. It'll be another entry in the endless book of what could have been if Cleveland just got out of its own way. And people are watching, not just fans, not just media, agents, players, league insiders. Everyone's watching how Cleveland handles this moment. Because the question isn't just, is Shedeur ready? It's, is Cleveland ready to stop being afraid of its own future? That's the hard part. This franchise has been conditioned to fear change, fear commitment, fear being wrong again. But what if just once they're not wrong? What if the guy with the calm eyes and the steady hand is exactly who they need? What if Myles Garrett didn't just make a statement? He made history. We don't know yet. That's what makes this moment so electric. It's hanging in the air like a thunderstorm that hasn't broken yet. But when it does, when kickoff hits and the dust settles, we're going to see who this team really is. So if you're a Browns fan, strap in, because the next 4 quarters might define the next 4 years. And if you're watching from the outside, wondering if the curse is real, if the dysfunction will win again, or if this is the start of a miracle, get your popcorn ready. Because either the legend of Shedeur Sanders begins in blood and fire on Sunday, or Cleveland does what Cleveland always does, gets scared of its own salvation and runs. Either way, history is about to be made. Drop a comment. Is Stefanski done? Is this finally the Browns' moment? And don't forget to subscribe, because this isn't just football anymore. It's a franchise on the edge of a revolution.